Hey there, and welcome to today's episode of Master Your English podcast. Today we're going to chat about something that many people find intimidating, but something that can be both incredibly rewarding and empowering: public speaking. Now, I know that just the thought of speaking in front of a group might make you feel a little anxious or maybe even completely terrified. And trust me, you're not alone. Public speaking is one of the most common fears people have. But here's the thing: public speaking doesn't have to be this scary event. It can actually be something that's enjoyable and fulfilling. It's all about perspective, practice, and learning to connect with your audience in a way that feels natural to you. In today's episode, we're going to dive into the art of public speaking. I'll share with you some tips and techniques to help you feel more confident when speaking in front of a crowd. Whether that's a small group of friends, colleagues, at work, or a large audience at a conference. We'll talk about how to handle nerves, what to do when you make a mistake, and how to truly connect with your audience. Public speaking isn't about perfection, it's about communication, authenticity, and creating a meaningful experience for both you and your audience. So take a deep breath, grab a warm drink, and let's get started. So let's start at the very beginning. What exactly is public speaking? Well, at its most basic level, public speaking is simply the act of speaking to a group of people. But when we think of public speaking, we often imagine someone standing at a podium in front of hundreds of people delivering a carefully rehearsed speech. And while that is one form of public speaking, there are many different situations where public speaking comes into play. Public speaking could be something as simple as sharing your thoughts at a family dinner, making a presentation at work, or even leading a small group discussion. It doesn't always have to be formal. In fact, public speaking can happen in any situation where you're speaking in front of others, whether it's with a handful of people or an entire room. The key thing to remember here is that public speaking isn't just about performing, it's about communication. It's about sharing your ideas, your thoughts, your stories, and even your emotions with others. And while it might seem intimidating, at first, with the right mindset and a few strategies, anyone can become a more effective public speaker. Now, let's break this down further. Public speaking isn't just about saying the right words. It's about how you make others feel and how you express your message in a way that resonates with your audience. You could have the most well-prepared speech, but if you don't connect with your audience, it won't have the same impact. That's why public speaking is so powerful. It's a chance to inspire, inform, and engage others, all through the simple act of speaking. Why do we get nervous? Let's talk about one of the biggest challenges people face when it comes to public speaking. If you're someone who gets nervous just thinking about speaking in front of a group, don't worry. You're in good company. Most people feel some level of nervousness or anxiety when it comes to public speaking, even those who have done it many times. And the good news is that those nerves can actually be a helpful tool if we learn to manage them properly. But why do we get nervous? Well, it's all about the way our brains are wired. As human beings, we have a natural instinct to be wary of potential dangers, and speaking in front of others often triggers that fear response. We worry about judgment, about saying the wrong thing, or about making a mistake that will embarrass us. These are natural fears, but they don't have to control us. Instead of viewing those nerves as something negative, we can start to see them as a sign that we care about the task at hand. The fact that you're nervous shows that you're invested in doing a good job, and that's actually a good thing. Now, here's a little trick for managing those nerves. Focus on the message, not yourself. A lot of our anxiety comes from worrying about how we'll come across to the audience. We start thinking, what if I mess up? What if they don't like me? But the truth is, people are more interested in what you're saying than how you're saying it. Shift your focus from yourself to the message you want to share, and you'll feel less pressure to be perfect. Remember, you're not up there to impress people with your delivery. You're up there to connect with them and share something meaningful. How to prepare for public speaking. Now that we've talked a little bit about nerves, let's move on to the preparation process. Good preparation is key to successful public speaking. But here's the thing, preparation doesn't mean memorizing every single word you're going to say. In fact, that can actually make you more nervous. Instead, preparation is about knowing your key points and understanding the message you want to convey. When you're preparing for a speaking event, whether it's a presentation, a speech, or a casual talk, it's helpful to break your content into clear sections. Start by introducing your topic, explaining why it's important, then dive into your main points, and finally, wrap up with a conclusion. This structure gives your speech a natural flow and helps you stay on track. But here's a trick that I love. Instead of writing out every word you're going to say, create an outline. An outline is a flexible guide that allows you to stay focused without getting trapped in a script. This also gives you room to adjust things if the audience seems to be reacting in a way that's different from what you expected. If you're giving a presentation, remember that visual aids like slides can be helpful, but don't rely on them too much. Your words and your presence should be the main focus, not the PowerPoint. Finally, one of the best ways to prepare is to practice. The more you practice, the more comfortable you'll feel. But here's the key. Practice in a way that feels natural. Don't just stand in front of a mirror rehearsing your lines. Practice as if you're already in front of an audience, record yourself, or better yet, find a friend or family member to listen to you. This not only helps you improve your delivery, but also builds your confidence. Now, let's talk about something that's bound to happen at some point, mistakes. Whether it's forgetting a line, tripping over your words, or accidentally skipping a section, mistakes are a part of public speaking. And here's the truth, it's okay. In fact, some of the most memorable moments in speeches and presentations come from mistakes. What really matters is how you handle those mistakes. If you make a mistake, don't panic. Take a deep breath, smile, and keep going. Remember, the audience is usually much more forgiving than you think. They're not sitting there waiting for you to fail. They're there to hear what you have to say. So if you miss a line or stumble over your words, just acknowledge it if you feel comfortable doing so and move on. People appreciate honesty and authenticity. Mistakes can even be an opportunity to bond with your audience. For example, if you mispronounce a word or forget something, you can use humor to smooth over the situation. People love it when speakers show vulnerability and humor. It makes you more human, and it shows that you're not afraid to be imperfect. It's important to remember that public speaking isn't just something that happens at big events or in front of large audiences. Public speaking is a skill that we use in our everyday lives, often without even thinking about it. When you talk to a group of friends, explain something to a colleague, or present an idea to your family, you're practicing public speaking. These everyday conversations provide excellent opportunities to practice the skills that will make you a better speaker. So the next time you're sharing a story with friends or explaining something at work, treat it as an opportunity to practice speaking with clarity, confidence, and authenticity. You don't need to wait for a big event to work on your public speaking skills. In fact, everyday speaking is a great way to build your confidence and comfort level. In addition to these personal interactions, another great place to practice public speaking is in meetings or group discussions. Even in smaller settings, you can practice your delivery, manage your nerves, and improve your ability to convey your ideas. The more you practice in these settings, the more comfortable and natural it will feel when you have to speak in front of larger groups. So to wrap things up, public speaking doesn't have to be a scary experience. In fact, with the right mindset, it can be an incredibly fulfilling and rewarding skill. By focusing on your message, practicing regularly, and embracing the inevitable mistakes, you can become a more confident and effective speaker. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Master Your English podcast. I hope this conversation helped you feel a little more comfortable and confident about public speaking. If you found this episode helpful, feel free to share it with someone who might benefit from these tips. And remember, practice makes progress. The more you practice, the more natural it will feel. Until next time, take care and keep speaking confidently.